Hey everyone, Chrono Pinoy X here once again, back with another video. First and foremost, happy holidays to everyone out there across the world. Even if you don't celebrate Christmas, I'm hoping you're having a nice and relaxing time. Now today we're going to take a break from the 5-fact series in order to go through my top 5 new monsters introduced within Monster Hunter Rise. We're gonna be focusing on the new monsters here, meaning that none of the returning monsters are gonna be added on this list. So here we are, my top 5 new monsters introduced within Monster Hunter Rise as of the end of this year. Kicking things off at number 5, we have the big chungus that is Tetronodon. Now the reason I have Tetronodon on my number 5 here is because I really enjoy the design of the monster. If we observe the overall characteristics of Tetronodon, this monster is meant to be inspired by the Kappa, all the way down to its sumo wrestling capabilities. However, what Capcom have done here is that they've redesigned the whole Kappa idea from making it more turtle-like into something more platypus-like. Thus, we have a very unique looking monster here. Most times you would see a Kappa with turtle-like characteristics, and even though the Tetronodon does have a shell, it doesn't really feel like a turtle in any capacity. Hence the reason why I really enjoy the overall physical design of the monster, and the whole sumo wrestling capabilities it has really complements the overall design. Zapping its way into number 4, we have the Thunder Serpent Narwa. Now Narwa is interesting for me because similar to Tetronodon, I like the overall design of the monster. However, in this case, it's because of the fact that the monster looks unnatural and just very weird in general, and it shares these characteristics with its male counterpart, the Winged Serpent Ibushi. However, what made Narwa stood out for me outside of its appearance is going to be combat. This monster reaches frontier levels of intensity even in its base form. Once we go into the All-Mother stage, however, that's when things get even crazier. The crazy goes up to 11, and I really enjoy that about this monster. Not only that, the super move behind this monster has some references to previous monsters within the series such as the Atalka and Safijiva. So overall, it's not just the appearance of the monster that stood out for me here, it's also the intensity of combat. Mud bending its way into number 3, we have the Almadron. Now the Almadron is an awesome looking leviathan, and Capcom did an amazing job in portraying mud as a very dangerous element within the series. We do have the likes of the Baroth as well as the Duratodus who can manipulate mud to some extent, but never in the same complexity as that of the Almadron, and that's what really stood out for me regarding this monster. Not only that, there's a piece of lore regarding the Almadron that also stood out for me because it reminded me of a character from the last Airbender series, and that's Toph. Both the Almadron and Toph utilize vibration in order to sense their opponents. In this case, Toph uses her feet, but the Almadron uses their whiskers. Overall, it's just an amazing monster, and that tiny reference regarding seismic sense really stood out for me as well because it showcases that the Almadron is an adept in not just bending mud but bending the very earth itself. Slashing its way into number 2, we have the Boss Harag, Gos Harag. I don't have to tell you much here. This is a gigantic bear monster with the ability to forge an icy greatsword. Not only that, if it gets really angry, the monster will dual wield gigantic icy greatswords, and that is super awesome in my opinion. Perhaps the most unique concept here is the fact that we're fighting a monster that fights almost like a hunter, and the only thing that really holds it back is the sluggishness of its movement because of how heavy those icy greatswords are, and that's pretty much it. If they can improve upon the capabilities of the monster in Master Rank with the upcoming expansion and make it fight faster, that would be the most amazing experience against one of the most unique monsters within Monster Hunter Rise. And finally, blasting its way into number 1, we have the flagship of Monster Hunter Rise, the barbarous beast that is the Magnum Mallow. Now the Magnum Mallow isn't just number 1 on my list here, it's also one of my favorite monsters in the entirety of the series, and many reasons contribute as to why this is. When we take a look at the lore and ecology of the monster, there's plenty of information to digest, not just in the game but outside of the game as well, showcasing how Capcom really wanted to build up this flagship for Monster Hunter Rise. Now when we take a look at combat, you could tell that Capcom also wanted to incorporate elements of Frontier when creating this monster. When we take a look at the animation of Magnamalo, you could tell that they took elements of Eroserion as well, an Elder Dragon from Frontier when creating the monster. And finally, perhaps the biggest part that stood out for me is the inspiration behind the monster. This isn't any specific yokai here. Instead, what we have here is an evil spirit possessing a set of armor and taking up a weapon and then forming itself into a tiger. That's the reason why when we take a look at the anatomy of the monster, certain parts of the monster's body look like it's wearing armor. And of course, we have a tail for a weapon here. This means that Capcom went above and beyond designing the monster in order to break away from the yokai inspiration but still maintaining that Japanese theme. Overall, all of these elements and more really showcases why Magnum Mallow is one of my favorite monsters in the entirety of the series and makes it to number 1 on my top 5 list. And that, everyone, is my top 5 newly added monsters within Monster Hunter Rise that focuses solely on the creatures added within this title and not seen in previous Monster Hunter games. Do you have your own list of top 5 newly added monsters within Monster Hunter Rise? If so, let us know in the comments below your top 5 newly added monsters within this title and give us your reason as to why they made it in your top 5 list. Now, with all of that being said, if you enjoyed these videos, please consider hitting the like on the video itself and subscribing to the channel as well as hitting that bell icon so you can go ahead and catch up on any future Monster Hunter content that I might be doing or any other games that I might be playing in future. Until then, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Onward and upward.